Now, I have heard many people to say that everyone loves the cars that they had around growing up. For some reasons, this doesn't work for me. I was born in '96, so the supercars of my generations are the Ferrari Enzo, the Porsche Carrera GT, Ford GT, Bugatti Veyron, Koenigsegg, CCR, etc. But only I really like the SLR Mclaren. Now, isn't that I hate the other cars, but I never have dreamed about owning one of them. This isn't the case for the SLR. But the SLR has a big problem, and this is its design. Now, some people say that it's ugly, but for me, it's everything but ugly. But its design has a flaw. Looks like it's impossible to make a good looking body kit for it. Almost all the tuners that have tried to make a body kit for the SLR have failed. Just saying that Brabus didn't even bother to make a body kit for it is enough to describe the design of the SLR. But this isn't the case for most of the tuners. So hello guys and welcome back to another video, and here are the worst tuned Mercedes-Benz SLR McLarens. I want to start this video with a Hamann Volcano. Now definitely Hamann is one of the biggest names of the tuning world, and one of the craziest ones, but in my opinion their SLR kit, the Volcano, isn't that crazy. Of course for Hamann standards. Now two are the main sections that Hamann was focused on, the side and the rear. From the sides we see these new front fenders, which are more obvious on the front. The latter one also continues through the front bumper, creating this way a front lip. From the rear we see a huge diffuser, but the most eye-catching thing is of course that giant rear wing. Plus that roof scoop, just why? I don't get the point of it. Even though you, me and everyone who has played Need for Speed Most Wanted at least once have put roof scoops on the SLR. Now the biggest flaw of this design is that Hamann decided to leave the new carbon fiber parts exposed and didn't paint them the same color as the rest of the car. So we end up with this mess. If the panels were the same color as the rest of the car, the Volcano might have looked okay, since like I said, instead of a huge hardcore body kit. Like the exterior, the interior hasn't changed that much, and looks like came with color combinations the same as the body of the car. The changes weren't only about the looks. Hamann also increased the power of the SLR, thanks to some tweaks to the control unit and the new exhaust system. The power was increased from 625 horsepower to 700 horsepower, which isn't that bad, because this is around the maximum usable horsepower you could get out of the 5.4 liter V8 supercharged engine. The additional power increased the top speed to 348 km per hour, which is something around 14 km faster than the stock SLR, while the acceleration time was lowered to 3.6 seconds. Sadly, I couldn't find what the original price of the Volcano was, but a black and white example was up for sale 3 years ago in Dubai for $300,000. But while the Hamann body kit was quite simple and let's say a bit generic, this isn't the case for the Fab Design Desire. how they named the SLR kit. This is one of the craziest body kits ever used for a supercar in my opinion. Now I have seen some people like this kit, but personally I don't like it at all. I just find it too weird. First is the front, which is of course the most controversial part. It features these three vertical lines, which consist out of the two vertical lines on the side and one on the middle. The F1 nose was extended now to connect with that middle line. Like you are going to see, this was something that also was done by other tuners and all failed at it. Now in certain color combinations Desire doesn't look that bad since you cannot see some of the lines and shapes of this car, but in other colors, especially bright ones, just looks awful. On the side we see the new front and rear fenders, which look like they were inspired from the 300 SL, just this time they were on steroids. Also in the front and the rear wheels we see just some useless side air vents. From the rear we can see two triangles. The first is on the rear bumper, while the second is the base of the giant rear wing. For some reasons, all the tuners love to put rear wings on the SLR, even though they never looked good on it. Most of the Fab Design SLRs came with ultra-wide wheels, which just don't suit SLR at all. Like on the Hamann, we don't see a crazy interior here, but some came with some really neat colors. Thankfully, Fab Design had done a pretty good job on the performance department. The power output was at 750 horsepower, while the torque at 800 pound-foot. Fab Design had planned to build 15 Desires, where you could get it one as a coupe or convertible. Sadly again, I couldn't find much about the price. Now, on the first episode of the Worst Tuner series, I talked about the Asma design, a German tuning company which was around the early mid-2000s. Now they are mostly famous for the S and CLS, with their huge grille, but they also worked with other Mercedes and experimented with other designs. And so in 2009 came the Asma design Perfectus. Now originally the car was built for the royal family of Abu Dhabi, but everyone with crazy money in his pocket could get one. While the previous SLRs could see what the designers were really going for, here is just a mess of shapes and parts which just don't go together. Asma, also like the others, has made the nose longer and looks like they really were trying to replicate the F1 cars, but the result is just terrible. The car is much wider now and like I said, the lines just don't make sense, and the same thing can be said for the rear, which is again a total mess. But the biggest drawback is that Perfectus looks like a cheap replica. While both Hamann and Fab Design looked pretty well built, this can be said for the Asma. Like on the case of the Hamann, Asma also had increased the power to 700 horses. Now the craziest part is that this thing costed $1 million, which probably puts Hamann and Fab Design in the same ballpark in my opinion. But the most famous at the same time the worst tuned SLR is of course the 999 Red Gold Dream. Beauty is of course on the eyes of the beholder, but some things are just so ugly that you cannot justify them no matter what, and this is the case of the Red Gold Dream. From the crazy body kit to the ultra bright red paint and all the golden parts. Just why? Something that I want to mention before the Red Gold Dream is another very similar car which came 20 years prior to 999. This was the Red Gold 1000 SES from Styling Garage. The car had received the usual SGS treatment, with a white body kit and gullwing doors, but SGS also with a red candy color, and at the same time had replaced all the chrome parts with gold ones. But the craziest thing was the interior, where everything was covered in gold now. Now back to our beloved SLR. The car was built by the Swiss millionaire Willy Anliker, which looks like he has a big love for red and gold, since some other creations of him have also received a similar treatment. Also, his garage where he stores his collections has the same colors. The Gold Dream has received a special body kit, which was just built for it. The bulldozer front scoop is just awful, while the rear wing just doesn't suit the car at all. Another major exterior change is that the Red Gold Dream had a sunroof now, which just why is that there? But the main focus of the car is of course the gold. Oh, the gold. Anliker spent a total of 30,000 man-hours and a total of $4 million just to convert this car. It has been garnished with 25 layers of red paint and 5 kilos of gold. The wheels, the headlights, the door seals are covered with 24 karat gold, and on the interior of the car we can see 600 rubies, worth $400,000. All the badges of this SLR were solid gold now, which is just crazy. Now supposedly the power was at 999 horsepower, thus the name 999 Red Gold Dream, which sound a bit much, but who knows. Now Anliker has tried to sell the car many times, asking some crazy numbers. I can't find much information where the car is now or if the car was ever sold. But it would be very interesting to see this car pop up after 20 years and what we would think about that. So guys, thank you for watching and see you next time.